Vinodji, namaste. Good to see you from India. Okay, so 8:30, right, Rajesh? It's or one more minute is there.
Yeah, I think let's wait for 1 more minute. I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you can start. You're ready.
8:30. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the prayer. Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Nice. Okay, welcome back. Let's do a silent prayer for the entire universe fighting against this pandemic. So with that, let's get started. We'll continue our discussion on Atma Bodha. Today is session 4. We will be covering verses 6, 7, and 8. So last week, what we did so far was we did a quick introduction on the system of scriptures, Vedic scriptures. So we understood the different layers of Vedic scriptures. And then we talked about the verse 1 and 2 on the first session. Then second session, we covered 3, 4, and 5. And today we are planning to cover 6, 7, and 8. It's wrong. 6, 7, and 8. The materials are already there in OneDrive, even including today's. You can download it. I'll make sure that that is uploaded. So we will just listen to the chanting and a 1-minute recap of each verse. Luckily, I found the wonderful chanting by Swami Brahmananda. So I don't have to kill you with my chanting. Of course, Bhuwanaji is good. She can chant, but I cannot chant properly. I can read, but I cannot chant. That's not my skill.
I also follow Brahmanandaji's recording.
Yeah, Brahmanandaji's chanting is good. So let's listen to all the 5 verses we covered, and then we will go from there. Tapo bhikshena papana Shantanam Vetaragina Mumukshunam Apekshoyam Atma Bodho Vidhiyate. Really thankful to Swami Brahmananda ji. He is known for his chanting. He is from Chinmaya Mission, a direct disciple of Swami Chinmayananda, trained by Swami Dayananda, and he is the head of the Chinmaya Mission Bangalore. His Gita chanting is very popular. Means the 2 popular chanting of the Gita, one is by Swami Brahmananda ji. So really glad that we got his chanting version. So the first verse introduces the purpose of this book. It's brilliant. It tells why I am composing this book, Atma Bodha. I'm composing this book to help people to realize their potential, to help people to find the higher purpose of the life, to help people get freedom from all the suffering. So what kind of people? To the committed people. That is clearly explained with a few brilliant strokes. Tapopik Shina Papanam, with the spiritual practice, one who are pure. And the second thing is, so the purity of the mind, commitment to the spiritual practice. And then Shantanam Vitaraginam, the people who are emotionally intelligent. So you need to understand the two major criteria for seeking knowledge. One is the Chitta Shuddhi, the purity of the mind. And the second one is the Chitta Sthiti, which is the stability of the mind. So those who got purity of the mind and stability of the mind through spiritual practices, namely Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. So, and those who are desirous, those who seek the higher purpose of their life, I'm going to write this book for revealing their own nature. So that's what the first verse was. And then in the second verse itself, Shankara directly goes to the topic. So let's listen to the verse.
Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan moksheka sadhanam pakasya vannivajnanam vina moksho na siddhyate.
There is only one means, there is only one direct means for moksha or the self-realization, which is knowledge. And here onwards, every verse is going to have one example. That is how Shankara composed this wonderful book. So here Shankara tells, when you cook, what exactly cook the food is the fire. But that doesn't mean that you don't need the other tools and supports. The other tools and support are indirect means, but the direct means for cooking the food is fire. So just like that, every other spiritual practices, whether it is prayer, karma yoga, upasana yoga, whatever it is, it can be the necessary condition, but the direct cause or the actual cause for the moksha is knowledge. So we talked about that a lot in the previous sessions. We said, if you are ignorant, the only solution to remove the ignorance is knowledge. The other practices can give you the necessary and sufficient condition for knowledge seeking or the knowledge to work, but only knowledge can remove the ignorance. If the problem is ignorance, the solution is knowledge. So we saw that. That was the second verse. And the third verse is again talk about the knowledge.
Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet vidya vidyam nihantyeva tejastimira sanghavat.
The other practices, whether it is bhakti, karma, or any other practices can coexist with ignorance because they are, means, for example, one can be a devotee and not knowing the self. So that is the key point Shankara is telling. One can be a hatha yogi, but still can be ignorant. So the hatha yoga or the bhakti yoga is not a direct means for moksha. The only means for the moksha is knowledge. So that is Shankaracharya tells. So he tells like only knowledge can remove the ignorance. The example given here is when you have light, there is no place for darkness. The darkness automatically goes away. Please note that these are direct clarification of a lot of confusion. Even the so-called Vedanta students, even the people who pursue Vedanta, they are not clarified with these concepts, these ideas, because this is very important. We need to have clarity on this. I remember when I started studying, it took 4 or 5 or 6 years for me to get clarity on that. Because you always hear karma, bhakti, jnana, raja yoga all leads to the same goal. Yes, all are sadhanas, but the ultimate, the final leap is done only through knowledge. Bhagavad Gita clarifies that, all the scriptures clarifies that, but people are ignorant on that.
So here, Rajesh, so it is directly said here, right?
Yes,
That only
yes,
knowledge.
absolutely. In the second and third verse, that is exactly what is given. Only knowledge can remove ignorance. And in this verse, he tells the other practices can coexist with ignorance. Remember last week I did the analysis, like the 10th man story. The 10th man can pray and he can be a devotee and still he can be ignorant of the fact that he is the 10th man. Only knowledge that, what exactly is the knowledge? Knowledge that I am the 10th man is going to remove the sorrows. But remember, the prayer has its own rule. The meditation has its own role. Hatha yoga has its own role, right? If he is too stressed, he may not be able to listen to the passerby's comments. So the role of other practice is to give the necessary and sufficient condition for the knowledge to work. But ultimately, it is only the knowledge that remove the ignorance. We saw this.
So Rajaji, quick question.
Sure.
So this knowledge needs to be experiential knowledge and not blind faith, right?
Absolutely. This knowledge is the knowledge, means we are going to see that in today's topic. So the knowledge has to be aparokshanubhuti. It should be the direct experience. Of course, it will start with the indirect experience, but finally that becomes experiential to you. Initially, the passerby told the 10th man that you are the 10th man. He didn't believe, but when he counted, what happened? That knowledge becomes his experience. When he told that you are the 10th man, the 10th man is here, it was a hope. It was at least, okay, he felt good. But the fear got completely removed only when he realized that. But mind you, now you will ask, why don't we directly go to that? Because it won't work, because our mind is not yet pure. Our mind is not yet stable. So these two conditions has to work. Then only you can get this knowledge experientially. And that's why Bhagavad Gita keep on telling us, knowledge is the highest, but you go and practice yoga.
So Rajaji, until we are able to get to a state of purity of mind, and sincerity of purpose, which is required, isn't faith also necessary so that we can accept the teachings of the Guru and make progress?
Absolutely. The faith is important, right? The faith means you have to have that faith, because faith is like a hypothesis. A scientist always follow a hypothesis. If that hypothesis is not there, I was reading the biography of Erwin Schrödinger. You all should read it. Erwin Schrödinger is one of the famous modern physicists. He is the one who came up with the Schrödinger equation, which defines or models the quantum mechanics. So he was an ardent fan of Vedanta, and he emphasized the need of this faith, because initially when you postulate a model, the scientists believe in that model. He put all the effort in his model without proof, saying that this is correct. Unless and otherwise he is proved to be wrong, he will continue in that path. The thing is, the difference between a blind faith or a superstitious person and a scientist or a Vedanta student is, a blind faith person, right? Even if it is proved that he is wrong, he won't change his mind. But Vedanta, the faith we are talking here is the faith in the words of scripture, the faith in the words of masters. How? It is not blind faith. Because remember, when I read Bhagavad Gita, I feel that, okay, this verse doesn't make any sense to me. So first tendency for anybody is to suspect the Gita. Correct? If I read a book, if I don't understand, I will say what? That book is wrong.
Yeah, it's false.
But you never suspect your understanding. The second possibility is your understanding of what is written is also could go wrong, right? So the faith here means that if you cannot make a connection, first suspect your understanding before you conclude that this is wrong. If you read the theory of relativity, you don't understand anything. I'm guaranteeing you the first time when you read it, nobody will understand anything. because it is that complicated. Especially the quantum mechanics, the Schrodinger equation and all, it's very complicated. So when you read, if you don't understand, you say that the Schrodinger is a fool and the physics is stupid. Who is a stupid and who is a fool? I am the one. So you have to have that faith. Unless otherwise, of course, if you tried all the options and it doesn't ring a bell in you, then of course it may not be the right path for you. That's it. So that's the faith we are talking. So let's go to the verse 4.
Thank you, Rajaji.
But good question. Please feel free to ask all these questions, because the Vedanta class, our goal is to make sure that we understand the ideas, right? Because why we are studying this? We want to study Upanishads with Shankara's commentary. When we want to study Upanishad with Shankara's commentary, the fundamental has to be strong. So we need to do that. So please feel free to raise any questions.
Parichinna ivajnanat tannashe sati kevalaha swayam prakashate hyatma meghapayem shumaniva.
People say that you have to improve yourself, you have to change yourself. In fact, you don't have to do anything, because your true identity is Atma, the consciousness, and that Atma is already complete. You don't have to create happiness to be happy, because your own true nature is contentment, your own true nature is Atma. What you have, why then you are not experiencing that contentment and happiness and that tranquility? Because what happened? Something is blocking your vision of Atma. So you don't have to change Atma, but what you have to do is just remove that veil. And this is brilliantly illustrated by a wonderful example by Shankara. He tells that when the cloud covers the sun, it appears that the sun has something happened to the sun. But really speaking, nothing happened to the sun. The sun is shining exactly like as it is. But what happened? My vision of the sun is blocked by the cloud. And when the cloud goes away, what happens? The sun will automatically shine. So just like that, when the mind is pure, when the mind is stable, and when that mind is hooked to that Atma with the knowledge, what is going to happen? Atma don't have to make any change in itself. It's already full and it will start revealing. You can look, means the one reason I took this book instead of Tattva Bodha is every verse has one example. This is very unique of this book. So the next verse, knowledge removes the ignorance. So that's what it is. So earlier, the previous verse said, it is the ignorance that blocks my vision of myself. I'm trying to look myself, trying to understand myself, but something is blocking my vision. What exactly is blocking and how I can remove it? Earlier verse, we saw that it is ignorance that is blocking, just like the sun is blocked by the cloud. So here, let's listen to the verse.
Ajnana kalusham devam jnana abhyasad vinimmalam kritva jnanam swayam nashyet jalam katakarenuvat.
When you have the knowledge, when you experience that knowledge, what is going to happen? The ignorance will automatically disappear. So just like this Kataka Renu, like the Kataka of powder, we talked about that last week, right? So this particular purifying powder, when you put that in the water, what is going to happen? The water becomes pure. So like that, the knowledge will purify yourself and the Atma starts revealing. So this is the first 5 verses we saw. And these 5 verses paint a brilliant picture of the spiritual path. So what exactly is the spiritual path of a seeker? The spiritual path of a seeker clearly defines the current state of an individual. The current state of an individual is brilliantly defined. What? The current state of an individual is that state in which he fails to see himself. When he fails to see himself, he has a wrong identity. With that identity, he suffers. So what exactly we need to do? We need to purify your mind. You need to stabilize your mind. Verse 1. And then once it is done, use the direct means of knowledge. Direct means called knowledge. When you do that, what is going to happen? You will see your Atma, which is full, and that will take you to the highest possibilities of anybody's life. So this is a roadmap is given. At least the different steps in the spiritual practices are given by Shankaracharya. So with that, let's move to the next verse. Please feel free to post any question in the WhatsApp group also. So now Shankaracharya is talking about the world, because means there are three entities you have to talk. One is the absolute reality. One is the world. So he's just looking at the world and doing an analysis. Let's see.
Samsara swapna tulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha swakale satyavadbhati prabodhe satya sadbhave.
So we live in a world. We live in a world, and whatever we experience is true. Right now we are facing corona, means financial crisis and family problems, health problems. We cannot run away from that, and we have to face it. And this is what is represented by the term samsara, the world. Samsara means that which changes continuously. 3 months back, we never had an idea we would be like this. Nobody, right, could ever imagine this. And sometimes, like, I was reading about this Irfan Khan, who passed away very recently. One day, he just had a blood work, and suddenly this tumor got revealed to him. Like, after that, he lived 2 years. But remember, suddenly, people get sick suddenly. People die suddenly. Like, the other day, I was told that one of the Infosys engineer last year passed away. He just went to bed in one night. Morning, he passed away. So many things can happen. You can win a lottery tomorrow. You can lose everything tomorrow. A lot of people lose money in stock. So that which continuously changes, and every change can give you one experience. Either you may call it as good or bad, sometimes completely indifferent. And what tells you what is pleasant and unpleasant is your own likes and dislikes. Depending upon my likes and dislikes, I will relate to an experience as good, or I will relate to an experience as bad, or sometimes I relate to an experience as indifferent. Classic example, when Corona was in China, what was your attitude? You might have sympathized with it.
Yeah.
Right? A kind of indifferent. Of course, as a human being, you're sympathetic.
Yeah.
But when it came to your backyard, what happened?
Your skin was in the game.
Exactly.
So then you felt it.
So this samsara that changes every moment, Shankaracharya tells that it is like a dream. He didn't say that it is a dream. Okay. He said that swapna tulyohi. It is like a dream. So I wanted to tell you the same example I've been using for the last few weeks. It's a real example. I told you one of my colleagues called me up and told me that she had a dream. She was walking in New York and somebody came and spitted at her and said, you also got corona now. This was the story. And she said in her dream, she was literally shouting and crying and just got up. So while you are in that world, which world she was in? In dream world, correct? She was in the dream world. What is going to happen? She will have to suffer all the pains and all the pleasure in that dream. So instead of corona, if she had seen that she was in Cancun or say Hawaii, she would have been happier. Or if somebody had a dream that she or he won a lottery, oh my God, she would be in ecstasy. On the other side, if you feel that you had a tragedy, you will feel sad. So When you are in that dream world, every likes and dislikes, every change that happens in that dream world will affect you. But imagine, because this is a classic teaching methodology of Vedanta. So imagine, means I introduced something called a lucid dream in the other classes. Anybody remember what is lucid dream? You need that because this is a standard example in Vedanta. What is lucid dream by any means? Anybody?
You know
You
that
know-
you are in a dream.
Exactly.
Right.
So imagine that lady, when somebody spitted on her, if it was a lucid dream, what would have been her reaction?
She would know it's a dream and she would
Yeah,
not.
she know that even though somebody spitted at her, even though somebody said that, okay, this is affected by corona, she know that she has an existence beyond that dream. That is why she was not afraid of, right? Her real identity is not that dream. And the dream is only a temporary experience, only a relative experience. And when she get out of that dream, that will be over. And how that knowledge helped her? The lucid dream is implication of the knowledge. In a lucid dream, you know that your real entity, and you know that the experience you have is a temporary experience. So Shankaracharya here tells that the world is like a dream. So you are in a different order of reality. Dream and the waking are two orders of reality, right? Because you cannot drink, it means the water in the dream is going to make the person who is lying on the bed wet. That is a classic example used in the stock example used in the Vedanta. So because why? They are in two orders of reality. One is a dream world and the other one is a means the relatively real world. That is what the difference is. So like that, understand that you are in a you are in a plane of relative reality, and your real nature, Atma, lives in a different order of reality, which is the absolute reality. So whatever happens in that relative order of reality will not impact you in the absolute order of reality. Think about that dream. Even if the person, somebody hit you, somebody shoot you in the dream, nothing is going to happen to the actual person who is lying on the bed. That's why I really want you to understand that dream metaphor. Dream metaphor is one of the most powerful examples used in Vedanta, Swapna Drishtanta. So this is very important. So in the dream metaphor, like means the world is like a dream, meaning that it's a different order of the reality. So please don't conclude that the world is Ishvara's dream. So many people get confused with that. That's not what Shankara said. He said, Samsara Swapna Tulyohi. It is like a dream. So that means it is not the dream. There is a difference between like Upama, how his Upama is said, O king, your face is shining like a sun, moon. That doesn't mean that his face is moon. It is like. That is the difference. So that is what the Alankara here is. It's a comparison, simile. So samsara swapna tulyohi. And what exactly is the problem of the samsara? It comes and goes. Samsara means that which changes rapidly. And what happens? Every experience will bring you some pleasure and pain or indifference based on your raga and dvesha. Raga dveshadi sankulaha. It filled, every experience is filled with likes and dislikes. If you win a lottery, my God, I'm happy. If I'm exposed to corona, I'm sad. That's what it is. And then what happened? This experience, you feel that experience is real. Till when? Until you wake up and discover that it is not. So imagine that it was not a lucid dream. What would have happened? This lady would have cried in the bed, and eventually what is going to happen? She will wake up. Then only she realized that that was a different order of reality. So that's brilliantly explained. This is one of the beautiful verses of Atma Bodha. It is very direct, it is clear, and we have to appreciate the clarity and the direct teaching of Shankaracharya. So here he tells that the world is like a dream, and in that dream you will have different experiences, just like you have a different experiences in that dream. Like that, you will have different experiences in the world. But understand that eventually, when you wake up to the higher order of the reality, all that pains will disappear. So if what means Jivan Mukta is like a lucid dream. Like, for example, if it is a Ramana Maharshi or a Vivekananda or a Ramakrishna or whoever is the self-realized master you believe in, Paramahamsa Yogananda, Aurobindo, whoever it is, they live in the world, but they know that their true nature is different. So it's like a lucid dream. That's why they are not impacted by the setbacks of the life. You have seen that. How many people you have seen that? And I was, again, I could not believe it happened in front of our eyes when Swami Dayananda was doing that speech. And how much composed he was, how much calm he was, and how much laughing he was in his last few days. I was told that Swami Chinmayananda also is like that. And in fact, Swami Dayananda himself was telling me, like, during the last 3 or 4 days of Swami Chinmayananda, he was admitted in the hospital. I believe it is in San Diego. He had a massive heart attack. And when Swami Dayananda went and visited him, Swami Chinmayananda is known for his jokes and laughing, right? He was doing that. Maximum he will have 1 day. So understand, difference between the masters and us is like, man dies but once, Shakespeare said, and Vivekananda also retold that in a very powerful manner. So this powerful person, what is that?
Do we have that link, Rajesh, the Dayananda ji's last speech?
I think so. It's there in the Arshavidya Gurukulam. So if you go look at Google Swami Dayananda's final speech, let me send that to you.
Okay.
Rajaji, one question. So like Swami Vivekananda, Dayananda, Chinmayananda, they were all sannyasis. Is it possible for grihasthas to be in that state of knowledge?
Of course. Equally possible.
From a practical basis, from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, practical standpoint, there are hundreds of grihasthas who are in that stages. Like in Puranas, you hear about whom? Like Janaka. So in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clarifies, this is not just, sannyasa is only a lifestyle, right? So there are 2 lifestyle in the spiritual path. One is the lifestyle of a sannyasi and the lifestyle of a grihastha. Both end up at the same goal, right? So in the 4th chapter of the Gita, 5th chapter of the Gita, Krishna tells that both of them reaches the same place. And there are a lot of practical examples, means people who achieved that type of maturity in their life. The reason is some of these grihasthas may not be as popular as a sannyasi, because why we hear about Vivekananda? There are hundreds of other sannyasis whom we are not even hear of, right? Vivekananda was very famous. Swami Chinmayananda was very famous. Swami Dayananda was famous. The grihasthas who practices this may not be going out and giving the lectures. He's not popular, so his stories may not be as familiar as that of a sannyasi. So that's one reason.
And Rajesh, I mean, just to, Arnav, to your point, right? Like there are some sages like Pandit Shriram Sharma Acharya. If you see, he is the founder of Gayatri Parivar.
He's a grihastha.
And he was a grihastha, and then like he did everything, and his goal was also to do everything living in grihastha ashram actually.
Yep.
So,
no, but Sanjay ji and Rajesh ji, one point, right? Even Ramakrishna Paramahansa was a grihastha.
But he was living like a sannyasi. You're saying that.
Yeah, that lifestyle. Yeah. Is it in a modern context? Is it possible for a grihastha to
absolutely possible? And Krishna himself tells that very clearly in the 3rd chapter of the Gita. He gave one example, and he gave the example was Janaka, King Janaka. King Janaka was not a sannyasi. He was a king. Majority of his time was spent on ruling the kingdom and not on the spiritual practices. And he attained the state a sage has already attained. And he himself was so knowledgeable that he could even teach like people like Ashtavakra. And then even in our Vedic culture, like some ladies, housewives, were in that state. Anybody knows?
Sharadama?
Sharadama again was like a monk, but there were means this Yajnavalkya's wife, and there are so many women, ladies were there. And in Upanishad, I told you the other day, there was a lady's story, a housewife's story. Remember, a monk went to her. He could not come and feed him, and immediately the monk got upset. And then he said, "I'm not a bird who will be burned with your look." So that lady, she was a 100% grihastha. So I would definitely request you to take the word of Krishna. It is there in the 3rd chapter. He beyond doubt he confirms that sannyasa is, meaning the sannyasa lifestyle is not a mandatory requirement for self-realization, but sannyasa attitude is required. So first you have to follow the yoga, and then you have to follow the knowledge. That there is no choice. But as a grihastha, you can follow that, and as a sannyasi, you can follow that. Don't worry, you're a grihastha, you have the scope.
But isn't one more conducive than the other? Like, I naturally take the word of Sri Krishna. There's no doubting that. Yeah. But how do I practically accomplish that? Like when I'm doing 60 hours a week,
60 hours of like, that is the magic of karma yoga. So the karma yoga is not asking you to sit and pray and study, right? See, 95% of the effort goes into 2 activities. One is cleaning up the mind. Second one is stability of the mind. So the work you do, if you do 40 hours of work or 50 hours of work, that can very well be converted into a yoga. And when you do that as yoga, what happens? Your mind becomes purity. And even if you are a sannyasi, right? If your mind is sannyasi lifestyle, a lot of sannyasis are there in the modern world like that. So there, if the mind is not pure, if the mind is not calm, what is going to happen? You live like a sannyasi. So Shankaracharya tells in Bhagajagovindam about such sannyasi. He tells, Jadilo mundi lungchida kesha, kashayambara bahukrita vesha. And finally he tells one line, what? Udara nimittam bahukrita vesham. Why are they wearing the orange robe? To feed their stomach. This is the language Shankaracharya used. Anybody heard of that verse? It's very popular. Jadali mundi lumchida kesha, kashayambara bahukrita vesha.
It's part of Bhajagovindam.
It's part of Bhajagovindam. Yep. So this is how Shankaracharya described. So please don't, means it is possible. And again, Krishna gives one more assurance in the Bhagavad Gita. What means, you may think that, right? Okay, I'm doing a part-time spiritual practice. You may think, but you're doing a full-time spiritual practice. That's a different matter. Let's say that I'm not accomplishing the final destination. What happens to me? Krishna said, even if it's not a binary state, yes or no, whatever you practice, it is going to you that much benefit you are going to get. That's for sure. So we'll see this in the Bhagavad Gita. So let's continue. This verse is very powerful. Please keep this in mind. So world is like a dream. We talked about that. It's only a relative reality. But even though it's a relative reality, when we are in a dream, we feel that is permanent. So that's the key point. So the world is like a dream. So when you means the couple of things, like dream technically is called a waker ignorance, because I am becoming ignorant to my true identity, and I get identified with a projected world, which is a projection of my mind. Do you agree with me? Right? That's exactly what the dream is, right? So projection of the dream world is because of the forgetfulness of myself as a waker. Agreed? Then what happened? Disowning of the waker status caused by the sleep. That is what happened. When you go to the sleep, you disown your identity with your waking state, and you get identified with a dream world. And after projecting the dream world, what happened? The ignorance, your own ignorance, pulls you from the reality of a waker and make you transform yourself into a dream world. And in that dream world, you identify with a dream self, and you get suffered and get happy and get suffered based on what is happening in the dream world. So the true Atma, yourself, which is beyond all the world, all the relative world, which has an existence beyond everything, get itself identified with this relative world of ours, and we get suffered. And the only thing is that we are not asking anybody to leave the world and get away. Not at all. We are telling people to become lucid about your dream. That's it. When you are become conscious of yourself, what happens? The dream becomes a lucid dream. And when the dream becomes a lucid dream, you become immune to the problems of the world. I think this is a very easy way to relate with the self-realization, if you understand this dream example. That's why I said again and again, I keep on telling, the uniqueness of Vedanta is not what it teaches. The uniqueness of the Vedanta is the powerful teaching methodology. Thank God we got this much very powerful teaching methodology. Very systematic. Okay, so let's go to the... So what was the example in the previous verse? The previous verse, the example is dream. Beauty is, again, please contemplate upon the beauty of this text. The beauty of this text is, this text gives one example every verse without fail. So let's listen to the next verse.
Rajesh?
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry, in the previous verse, you asked us to be lucid to the dream, right?
Yep.
But how to practice it?
How to practice it is what? First of all, means how to become, what is a lucid dream? Lucid dream means you get identified with your true self, right? Means that's what I was explaining. The dream means you are forgetting your true identity with the waking state, and you are getting identified with the dream world. The only way for you to make that as a lucid dream is getting conscious of your true identity. So how to get your true identity? Because your true identity is covered by ignorance, just like the sun is covered by the dream. So how to remove that, right? That's the 3 steps we said. First, you have to make sure that your mind is pure and stable for seeking knowledge. So for that, you have to do 2 practices. One is Karma Yoga, which is for the purity of the mind. And then you have to practice in parallel, you have to practice Upasana Yoga. And the Upasana Yoga is for what? For the stability of the mind. So the purity and stability of the mind will make the mind capable of receiving the knowledge. And then whatever we are studying now, what happens? Now it is only a theoretical knowledge. You know that you are in a relative world, and you know that it is like a dream, and you wanted to get identified with the true nature, and it is given theoretically. Imagine that in that dream, this lady who is suffering from the corona, her friend comes there, a teacher, a spiritual master in the dream comes there and tells that, hey, XYZ, the fact is that this is like a dream. Your true identity is something different, and your true identity is somebody in the bed. She may not experience it, but that is only a theory. But when she really experiences it, that means the knowledge worked in her. The knowledge becomes an experience in her. For the knowledge to become an experience, the other 2 prerequisites is mandatory, the Chitta Shuddhi and the Chitta Sthiti. So to summarize your answer, practice Karma Yoga, practice Upasana Yoga, continue this knowledge. The knowledge seeking is through 3 steps. One is Shravanam, that is what we are doing right now. Second is what?
Mananam.
Mananam, contemplation. You have to connect the dot, think through the whole thing. And third was?
Nididhyasanam.
Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam means you are internalizing it. So the internalization will happen only when you have a pure mind and a stable mind. So this is the steps. This is the roadmap of any spiritual student. So this map is very important, because with this map, without the map and without the current state and the future state, this will not become clear. So the current state is me with a deluded self-identity, who is getting suffered in the world, who find himself suffering because I'm not understanding myself properly. That is the current state. And the desired state or the future state is what? The future state is nothing but a me who understand myself, who understand my identity beyond this relative world as the true Atma. That is the future state. So in that future state, what are the benefits and characteristics? That future state, being in a lucid dream, I know that whatever experience I have here, it means I may enjoy, right? Even if I'm in a lucid dream, if I'm getting a good food or if I'm watching a good show, still I will enjoy. But it means I'm completely not resilient to the problems of that dream world. So that is what is the future state. So the project we are undertaking here is, I'm just using the program project management language. The project I'm undertaking is a change from my current state to the future state. And a roadmap is required for me to move from the current state to the future state. And that roadmap is the scripture. And the scripture gives me 3 milestones. One is Karma Yoga, Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Stuti, and the third one is the knowledge.
Rajaji, why is this project so difficult and why does it take so long?
Because Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Sthiti is not very easy, because you like why it is difficult to convince your 4-year-old kid to mean studying is more important than playing.
Because he's a kid.
Exactly.
You won't understand.
Exactly. That's the problem. we are also kids. We think that this world is going to give me more excitement than the knowledge.
Yeah, but I don't think so. We should say that he may not be able to understand, right? His understanding might be different from what we understand, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
That's all I said, right? So in his understanding, he think that I'm saying that it is not difficult for him to understand. What I said is, in his worldview, the toy and playing with the toy, means that happiness he is getting from being with a toy is more important than
anything else. Yeah, true.
That's prioritization. So means, remember in the 7th chapter of Gita, remember Krishna talked about 2 categories of people, and one category of people, he said their priority is different.
So, but Rajaji, that child state, mental state analogy cannot be extended to us, right? I mean, we cannot get away by saying that I'm more attracted to the world.
It's only an analogy, right? Every analogy has its own weakness, right? That's why it's called an analogy. So simile, right? Otherwise, it is exact comparison. What I'm saying is that in my current state, I think that I will be, why? Everybody go and read the book Authentic Happiness, which is I mean a book I would recommend each one of you should read, because everyone think that XYZ is going to make me happy. I work 24/7. I aim for that promotion. I aim for that house. I aim for that car. I aim for a family, everything, because I feel that all of them are going to make me completely happy and contented. So there is nothing wrong in that. Absolutely fine. But what happens is, over a period of time, you realizes that, yeah, they are important to me, but the happiness really comes within myself. I fail to understand. That is why the authentic happiness, that book is evaluating from a psychological perspective. What is the search for happiness? So this is what it is. It is difficult. It is not an easy path. And 1 in a million probably may come to know this. And you look at your friends, hundreds of friends you have. How many of them are interested in this? So I think Swami Dayananda gave the one a beautiful example. He said, he asked one of his friends, why didn't you come to the talk yesterday of Swami Chinmayananda? This friend said, oh, I was busy, right? And then he asked, why didn't you come to that lady's marriage the other day? He said, I am also busy. So Swamiji means at that time he was a seeker. So means he asked, why you were busy? He said, I had to go to a movie. And then he asked, why you were busy? I was attending a lecture. So it's all priorities. So, but see, it doesn't matter how many people are seeking it. It doesn't matter how many years it is going to take. But what you are aiming is not the simplest. What you are aiming is the highest, noblest. So it will have its own difficulty. Okay, so let's go to the next verse.
So, Rajesh, one question. How does one measure their own purity level or stability level of the mind?
Okay, there is a formula. There is a formula given by the Gita. Again, it's not to measure anybody else, please. The moment we say that, we always try to measure other. So think about a self-analysis is very important for each one of us, right? So imagine yourself some 10 years back. What would make you upset easily? What would make you turbulent very easily? I saw people who get upset if the coffee is a little bit hot. I saw one Malayalam movie long time back. In that movie, one guy actually he gave a divorce to his wife because the biryani had the more spice. For some people, things is good enough to actually make them upset. So the level of maturity you can measure because your own vulnerability, your own resilience. Because, for example, you look at yourself, how well, because I mean, at work, when we talk to everybody, right? So some people, when I talk to them, the first thing they're started complaining, oh God, this corona is making my life difficult, suffering. I cannot go out of my room. So many days I could not go and eat outside. I didn't watch a movie. I could not go for a walk. It's so risky. There is another category of people I hear, right? At least I have a job. At least I'm not infected. So it is determined by your ability to maintain your stability and calmness in spite of the changing situation. Don't judge yourself, but just see. Earlier, small things would have been good enough. If the power is not there, that would have been good enough. And now what happened? You're resilient to tea, you're resilient to weather, you're resilient to so many things, but something happens to the family, we cannot bear it. So we are all vulnerable, but the degree of things that can impact us will change from time to time. Each one of you can look at your life. You can see that you're building that resilience slowly. And over a period of time, anything in the world can touch you. That is the state we are going to achieve. But that doesn't mean that you're like a stone. Absolutely not. Remember the second chapter of the Gita, last 18 verses is going to talk about that. This jnani will be more loving and more emotional to the people. But his emotions are, remember the definition of Daniel Goleman, I love it. Daniel Goleman say that the emotional intelligence is what happens. His ability to manage the emotions in such a way that it is appropriate and proportional to circumstances.
That is very difficult.
What is that?
That is very difficult.
Very difficult, but you can achieve it. So if suppose you want to see the biking, right? When you initially, it is very difficult. You will fall down. You need the support. Over a period of time, what happens? You will get that balance. So every emotional intelligence, the whole science of emotional intelligence is saying that it is a learned skill. So you may not be able to achieve that complete vulnerability, but definitely you can improve yourself from where you are to a next stage. And Gita gives a lot of techniques. Most of the techniques given in the emotional intelligence book comes in the Gita. So that is the beauty. Anyway, so there is a hope. So many people have practiced it, and you yourself can verify this. Meaning, I'm not saying that you will be self-realized tomorrow, but at least your resilience will definitely go up. That's for sure. Okay, so let's listen to the next verse.
तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम्.
Okay, this is very important. Tavat satyam jagat bhavi. When you are in this world right now, you feel that this is absolutely real. whatever happening is real. Real means not the relatively real. You think that this is absolutely real. Just like when you are in a dream, you feel that whatever happens in that dream is absolutely real. Relatively real, the world is relatively real. That is true. But we feel that it is completely, absolutely real. And Shankaracharya gives a beautiful example here. Like means, have you seen these glittering seashells? When you look at these glittering seashells from a distance, it appears that it is a silver. Like the mirage, another example, right? So you see that there is a water, and it's real water. But when you go there, what happens? It's not a water. So like that, you feel when you are in that experience, when you are in that time-space continuum, right? When you are within that time and space, you feel that this is 100% absolute and real. Like a glittering silver. So sorry, glittering seashell can be taken as a piece of silver. Like that, you feel that this is so real. And when that silver illusion goes away, you take the silver and you understand. So you take the seashell and understand it. You understand that, okay, it has only a relative existence, no absolute existence. So like that, yavat jnaneta jnayate brahma, until your true identity as the absolute reality is discovered. What happened? The world means the world will be considered as real, and when you identify with Brahman, the absolute reality, what happens? You see that the entire world is a projection of that Brahman. Just like that, when you understand the lucid, in a lucid dream, you understand that it is a dream, and that dream came from my own mind. Like that, you understand that the entire world came from this Brahman, and I am only playing a role. My true identity is with Brahman. That is, the example is, as a mother of pearl appears silver. This is the example. Okay, so we'll go for one more verse. So let's listen to the next verse.
Upadane khiladhare jaganti parameshware sargasthiti layam yanti buddhudaniva varini.
I'll just give the literal meaning. We will do the analysis next week because we are running out of time and I don't want to rush. So here, one more example is given. Like bubbles in the water. What exactly creates that bubble? It is the water. And where exactly this bubble exists? It's in the water. And the absolute support of the bubble is nothing but the water. So the world is only relative. The bubble is only relative. The absolute is water. So like that, the world has only relative existence. Relative existence means it was not there yesterday and tomorrow it won't be there. And it has an existence today, and that existence also changes. So that is the relative existence. The world has only relative existence. The bubble was not there sometimes back, and the bubble is created, and finally the bubble goes away. Like that, the world is like that. And the bubble, the existence of the bubble was given by the water, and the support of the bubble was given by the water, and finally the bubble merges back to the water. Like that, the world came from Brahman, and the world exists in Brahman, and the world goes back to Brahman. So this example is used. Again, a brilliant example, but we will talk about this next week. 9:30. So anybody has any questions? Any other questions?
Rajesh, so what is internalization like?
Internalization means it is becoming your experience. For example, right? One example is, I can always tell you that, means look at the 10th man story. The passerby can tell you that, hey, you are the 10th man. That's a theoretical knowledge. But when he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 10th person was counted as himself, he realized Earlier, it was a theoretical knowledge. That is the internalization. So once you internalize that, what happens? Tomorrow onwards, that doubt is completely gone. So this is what is internalization. And it is done through nitithyasanam, meaning you're making that as your experience. So shravanam means consistent study under a competent teacher for a period of time. This is exactly what the scripture tells. The dedicated, committed study of the scriptures under a trained teacher for a sufficient period of time. That is very important, because the scriptures you cannot study by yourself. Like, and you can study physics by yourself, but the scriptures thing is that you have to unlock it. So how to unlock it is, it means, see, for me, I didn't study it. It was given to me by the teachers. So it has to be given to you by the teachers. Nobody can study your scripture by yourself, because that is the time we make all these mistakes.
Correct.
So Rajaji, we spoke about Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam.
Mm-hmm.
Now these are all mental activities.
Correct.
How do we practice it? And why isn't it said that, I mean, I know Upasana Yoga and Karma Yoga is all about practice.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the process that ties the Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam?
What you are doing now is Shravanam,
mm-hmm.
right? You are listening to the scripture.
Mm-hmm.
Mananam means you take this back, and how I study, I'll tell you. Mananam means, that's all. Means rather than quoting the scriptures, what you do is what works for you. You can always share, and people can try. So how do I study? Is I write it down. See, I use a Surface notebook and I write it down in one note. I write it with meaning. I try to contemplate upon that. So probably a verse I will contemplate whole day, like whenever I get time. So sometimes what happens, you get doubts. You get total doubts. So most of the times these doubts will go away when you contemplate, you connect the dots. And whenever you are stuck, where you approach is either a teacher or a commentary by a standard master. So the good thing about Vedanta is, if you have a doubt on a Gita verse, you can always go and take the Shankara's commentary. It answers almost everything. And a few masters you are connected with, you can always refer. So once these two are done, then Nitithyasanam means internalization, means once your mind and actually the mind is pure and stable, what happens? You feel that in yourself. None of us are in that state. It means Nitithyasanam we can do, but none of us are in that experiential stage. It's a journey, we are undertaking it. So I can say that what I do is Shravanam, Mananam, and attempt of Nidithyasanam. Like I try to tell myself with a lot of examples, saying that, this is what it is. Theoretically, I can understand, but definitely it is not in my experience yet. But there are so many people. So, but this Mananam is very important. In our case, Mananam, because when I talk, it appears to be very simple to you, but when you try to connect the dots, so many doubts will come. This is true even the science also, right? When we study machine learning, it means the neural network, it appears to be very simple in the first class. After 1 week, you see the doubt. That's exactly what it is.
So Rajaji, is it correct to think about Nididhyasanam as a process of self-transformation?
Absolutely. It is a process of self-transformation. The thing is, the word self-transformation means your true self do not need any transformation, Atma. But your identity is transformed, right? You understand your true identity. You're shifting your identity. Yes. So from that perspective, it is a transformation.
Also in the perspective of, like, you're not getting angry too quickly. You're having more self-control,
correct.
more willpower.
Yeah. So for that, if you do this Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga itself, you don't need to be a knowledge or anything like that. If you practice meditation, you'll see that your stress is reduced, your anger is reduced, all those meditation is good enough. Remember the 4 types of meditation we talked about? So the Karma Yoga is proper work with proper attitude. Proper work means no tamasic action, rajasic action is permitted. Make sure you do the sattvic action, which is Panchamahayajna. Attitude, When you do the work, make sure that means that work is dedicated for a higher cause, meaning it could be your own self-purification. And when you get the result after putting the best, you should just take it as a prasada from the God and practice that equanimity. So you're forcing yourself into a lifestyle, right? So as a practitioner and as a self-realized master, the difference is whatever a self-realized master, whatever comes to a self-realized master automatically has to be emulated and practiced by a practitioner. So when you get the result, what you do, you take it as the prasada of God and take it. So that is the Karma Yoga. Upasana Yoga means you have to do 4 types of upasanas. The first is what? Remember? Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkadaha. Very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Very famous verse of the Bhagavad Gita. I forgot the verse number. It's 6th chapter, I think 8 or 9. 8 of the 6th chapter. So it tells your food should be appropriate. Not too much, not too less. Quality and quantity, appropriate mixture. Yuktahara viharasya. Vihara means your vihara and cheshta. Your recreations should be appropriate. You should enjoy yourself a little bit, but not overindulge, not completely move away. Your actions, your activities should be appropriate, not too much. Don't exercise 24/7, but don't be a couch potato also. So, yukta cheshtasya dharmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya. You should sleep appropriately. Not too much 24/7, not too less. So this is the first discipline you have to practice. I don't have to explain you the validity of this statement. It is proven by the science multiple times, right?
Yeah, it's a practice of perfection, basically. It's perfect.
Yeah, so for you to practice spirituality, Krishna is advising this first. Can you imagine that? That's the power of the Gita. Remember, 5,000 years back, nobody had talked about the wellness or obesity or anything like that. At that time, this type of teaching was given. Then the second level of upasana is what? The speech level. 17th chapter, verse 15 or 16 of the Gita, given that. Beautiful instruction. Anudvekakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam. So what exactly you should be speaking? Don't hurt somebody. Even if you give a hard message, make sure that you deliver it properly. And speak thinking of the hita of the others. Priyam and hitam. It's very important. So that is the speech level discipline. Some people who don't physically hurt, but their words are more painful and more hurting than the physical abuse. So when you're controlling your speech, you're inculcating a discipline for yourself. So the third level of discipline is the sense or organs. Swami Chinmayananda used to say, don't make your mind a public toilet. So what comes to your mind, what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you touch, it has to be based on your wish. Don't take all the garbage in. So that is the third level of upasana. The fourth level of upasana is the mental upasana, the mind. So practice relaxation meditation. Brilliantly explained in the Mandukya Upanishad Karika. Laye sambodhade chittam vikshiptam punare punaha. When the mind is stressed, what you have to do is stretch and relax your body muscles. Again, 5,000 years back, Herbert Benson got Nobel Prize in 1970s or 80s for discovering this truth. Something called the progressive means relaxation response. That was the Nobel Prize winning finding. And that's exactly what we have here. So this stretching and relaxing, progressive muscle relaxation in the modern language is being addressed here. So relax your mind, because you are, that is what is the Hatha Yoga, because the Hatha Yoga means one is sun and the other is moon. One represents your sympathetic nervous system and the other represents your parasympathetic nervous system. And there has to be a perfect balancing of these two. Most of us are completely under the control of the sympathetic nervous system. So that is what is you need to do. Second thing you need to do is concentration meditation. Each study we do, it's a brilliant way of practicing concentration meditation. Don't think that the meditation is sitting and chanting alone. Japa Yoga is so powerful. I was reading about Japa Yoga. There is a beautiful book called Tune Your Mind by Swami Chinmayananda. Brilliant book. You can read it. It's just 99 cents in Amazon. It's only 50 or 60 pages. It's talk about Gayatri Mantra. How you can use Gayatri Mantra to chant and learn Japa Yoga. His language is amazingly brilliant. And the way of the book is presented is excellent.
Which book is it, Rajesh?
Tune Your Mind.
Tune Your Mind, okay.
So this book gives all that such practices. Then the third one is called expansion meditation. Expansion meditation is you're identifying, it means you are expanding your identity. Those are really spiritual meditation. And the last one is called value meditation. The 13th chapter of the Gita is talking about that. Again, there is a brilliant book. I will suggest the book, Value of the Values.
Which we have in our library, by the way.
Yeah. Value of the Values. It's a wonderful book.
And also the other book that you mentioned, Authentic Happiness, that's also available in our library.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Rajaji, we are going to have a detailed series on Upasana Yoga and Karma Yoga, right?
Sometime. Yeah, in the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to start the Karma Yoga in next few weeks' time.
No, I mean, like whatever you just mentioned in the last like 10 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
A more detailed version
of
it.
We will do it. I was just answering to your query.
Right.
Yeah.
But
more detailed version is coming. We will do that.
Okay.
Rajesh ji.
Yeah.
The Panchamaha Yajna you were saying, right? So we're supposed to do that every day.
Ideally, every day.
But sometimes when we are very busy with other things or our work and we forget to do it, or we are not in a position to do it. What happens to us?
Okay, nothing will happen to us. And if you cannot do it, there is a workaround given in the scriptures. So what is the workaround? Sit quietly and do a prayer. Even if you pray Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu with the proper bhava, not mechanically saying that Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu and then hoping for the neighbor's head to be broken. That's not the one, right? You have to feel it. When you remember the prayer you did for the corona, when it was in China, I still remember.
I still remember that.
Right? You felt it and did it. And that type of prayer has its own power.
And look, we need it now.
We need it now. And that's why I start, every beginning of the class, I just sincerely see the sense of gratitude is extremely important, right? So the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about thanksgiving. What is thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is nothing but being sensitive to the other beings and other system and other processes of the universe. Imagine, like we take it for granted everything. Every day, the sun does his job without fail, right? The planet does its job without fail. There is no mechanical breakdown. Remember, the earth is doing its job for millions of years. No mechanical, your car can break down in a day. And what happens? The plants, we are completely dependent upon so many things. Even if you have money, I was reading Robinson Crusoe the other day, like he had a bag of money in that island. What is the use? You cannot buy everything with money. Like the food, nobody can produce the food with money. Only plants can do that. And only plants has the ability to absorb the sun's light. And when you are becoming sensitive of this, I am being supported by the intelligent order of the universe, because it's a cycle. Remember, we studied that in the Gita 3rd chapter, in the Not Brahmsi class, we'll do that soon. It is Annat Bhavanti Bhudani Parjanyadanna Sambhavaha Yajnat Bhavati Parjanya Yajna Karma Samudbhavaha. There is a brilliant verse which talks about the interconnectivity of different aspects of the universe. That is called the intelligent order of the universe. When I realized that, oh my God, there is so much intelligence has gone into the universe. There is so much of wonderful things that supports me. Then I cannot but thankful to the nature, thankful to the law of the universe. And that is, Krishna tells, that is the real thanksgiving. Being sensitive to yourself and being sensitive to the other people. See, we are all so lucky. We inherited a wonderful tradition. And what makes me sad is nobody, not even going into the surface of this. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so we will talk about this more, and this book is a brilliant book, and let's cover this book, and then we will take Sadhana Panchakam, which has 40 practices, and then we can go to Upanishads.
Rajeshji, just a comment on what you just said at the end, that what makes you sad is that we have inherited such a brilliant tradition, but there's not a lot of practice of this.
Yep.
Could it be that one reason is that our modern day lives are not designed in a way that requires us to practice this?
Yeah, maybe that is, means there could be hundreds of reasons, but
yeah,
the fact is, but the good thing is that remember, I always take it in a different way, even though I commented like that. So I feel myself lucky. I feel yourself, all of us are lucky, because right now, sitting in America, we can learn this, sitting in New Jersey. But 100 years back, even in India, you never had an opportunity to study this, right? You had to go to Rishikesh.
Yeah.
Thanks to technology, thanks to the modern teachers like Swami Chinmayananda, who popularized this teaching every nook and corner of the world. So it is getting spread, because long time back, this was confined to Uttarakhand or some Rishikesh, Uttarkashi, Gangotri, that type of places. That's it.
Absolutely right, Rajeshji. Technology has made things accessible that were not possible for our fathers.
Yeah.
For our parents.
Yeah, and also like the matter of blind belief is going down. Look at all these developing countries. You cannot fool people by fearing them about heaven and hell. So that is going. People are thinking, people are trying. Means I was reading about, again, I was telling like Erwin Schrödinger. How he came to Vedanta is through his thinking, intelligence. A scientist who invented quantum mechanics, he found this theory as the most competing theory. So that shows the intellectual stability of this teaching. Schrödinger was introduced by another physicist into Vedanta, and he was literally perplexed to see the depth of this teaching, and you can read that in his biography. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, and Rajeshji, this is Vinod here. Just want to add in, I think it's always been like it's only for the seeker. Like someone wants to get the knowledge, only they arrive at the place or they seek it. Whether the technology has been there or not, it's only when you need it or you seek for it, you reach there. Otherwise, you don't.
Yeah, but I think one thing is like, thank God, right now, when we want, actually the technology is acting as a means, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Glad to see you, Vinodji. You're coming from Cochin, and
yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Actually, it's interesting. I was telling some of my friends, probably because of Corona, now this is all online. I'm able to actually partake in all these things. It's
nice. Really nice. Everything is okay in Cochin?
Yeah, things are good. Yeah, kind of good. It's okay. Hope everything's out good there, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you guys.
I know how the situation is, but then it's always like each of us need to be safe, and then
absolutely
that'll make the world more safer.
Absolutely. But thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So Vinod
Rajesh,
is closely associated with Vivekananda Kendra. So it's a wonderful organization, does a lot of service work. And I had a privilege to see him in Kanyakumari a couple of years back. And I know him for 20 plus years. In my first job, I met him. So he's such a great
Yeah.
and glad to see him here. Okay, so anything else? Any other questions? Wonderful. So
I have one question, but you can answer it in the Gita class.
Yeah,
I
please.
just want a definition for Chandala, because you were talking about Manisha Panchakam, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always wonder, is it based on Varnashramam, or is it based on his qualities, gunas?
I will answer this in the Gita class. Yeah, there is a definition. Of course, this is not a caste. First of all, let's understand that. And the Chandala can be born in a family of a Brahmana. So that is meaning by birth, if you take it. There are several, and even in Bhagavatam, right, you have this Gokarna's brother was a kind of a Chandala, like if you look at the Padma Purana. So let's analyze that in detail in the Gita class.
Okay.
So we have the Gita class on Sunday, 5 o'clock. We will be talking about the third perspective of Krishna, because three perspective he answers why you should not be getting into a unstable mental state. So we saw 2 out of 3. We saw the spiritual angle, we saw the dharmic angle, and now we are going to see the worldly angle. So that is what we'll see on Sunday. Thank you. And Bhunaji, if you don't mind, you could chant.
Not at all.
Prayer.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschis Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavaseshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Just one more announcement. I think. Yeah, one more small announcement. The Bhagavad Gita Hindi class online is starting this Saturday, 4:30 p.m. India time, right? So it is just the same thing we are doing in English. So anybody who want to listen in Hindi and also a better speaker, you can always listen to Vikrant on Saturday onwards. Every week it will be there.
Sorry, Rajesh, what is it in New York time?
New York time, it will be
morning 7 a.m.
Yeah, 7 a.m. to
morning 7 Saturday. Right?
7 to 8:30, I think. Yeah.
To 8:30 Saturday.
But by the way, for everybody's knowledge, podcasts of all the classes Rajeshji is doing and Vikrantji is doing is available for everybody to download and listen on their podcast players. I just want to let everybody know. Just search for Project Self for Rajeshji's classes. It's just Project Self, which will be all in English. And for the Hindi versions, it is Project Self Hindi. If you just search that in your podcast players, you can download and listen to all of that.
Yeah, actually, the Hindi talks got really good attraction from the government of India also. Vinay Sahasrabudhe, like who is the cultural wing, who leads the cultural aspects of the government, is the advisor. He has reached out to Vikrant to design a curriculum for teaching, which is a great thing. So that is because the Vedanta, the teaching was organized very scientifically, right? So this is one development that happened. And Indian Management Association, a management association in Indore, they are interested, and a few other external organizations are also interested in spreading this teaching. As we always say, we don't care about copyright or anything like that. Any of our material can be taken and anybody can use it. The goal is only one: spread this teaching. So, yeah. So any of your family or anybody in India is interested in starting a Bhagavad Gita's class systematically from beginning, this is a good opportunity. But it's in Hindi. So if you don't know Hindi, that's difficult.
Rajji, the podcasts are never removed, right?
No,
like even
no.
Vikramji's podcasts.
No. Podcast won't get removed. Yeah, the
YouTube also, right? It will come in Project Gita, like after.
Yeah, finally they'll all come. Yeah, it will be the edited versions will be on the Project Gita,
Project Gita
site. Yeah,
but podcasts are available right now and they are for good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So once the edited version is uploaded, I get the audio from that, and that's how the podcast comes. So, and once they're up there, it'll stay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh ji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.